Her hand traces the fjord in her thigh. She counts the things she is afraid of. Nothing. Her own fingers, ringed seals, trapped in the freezing sea. The legend of Sedna flows through the icy waters of the Atlantic, told and retold in many places, bending to each culture. But no matter the version, one thing remains the same. Sedna is the mother of all sea creatures, and as goddess of the deep, she decides when the seals, the whales, the walrus, and the fish will rise to meet the hunters of the north. Sedna belongs to a worldwide pantheon of water goddesses. Across global myths, seas and rivers are rarely empty. They are alive with beings older and more powerful than the people who fish their waters. In Greece, there was Thalassa, the primordial personification of the sea, who some say gave birth to Aphrodite herself. The Sumerians spoke of Namu, goddess of the primeval salt waters, and Nansha, patron of the seas and fishing. The Egyptians told of Naunet, the primeval waters surrounding the earth. And in China, sailors prayed to Mazu, a mortal fisherman's daughter transformed into the goddess who guarded those who ventured out upon dangerous tides. But sea goddesses are not always maternal protectors. The Norse feared Ran, who dragged ships beneath the waves and gathered drowned sailors in her net, demanding gold and lives alike. Even the mermaids of old Europe were not the sweet Disney imaginings we know today, but half women, half fish, luring men into watery graves. Sedna's legacy embodies both these traditions, under the alternate names Sasuma Arnaha and Nerevik, among others. Her common name is Sidna, Sedna, or Sana, formed from the root sa, meaning in front, and the affix na, the one who, hence her literal meaning, that one who is before. She is remembered as both woman and something other, a figure of terrible power who became the sea's mistress, not through choice, but through violence and betrayal. The story of Sedna is a creation myth that explains how she came to rule over Allyson, the Inuit underworld deep beneath the sea. Allyson, meaning those who live beneath us, is a frigid, frozen realm, sometimes described as a wasteland of ice, where the dead are purified before their journey to the land of the moon for eternal rest. In carvings and sculptures, Sedna is often shown as half woman, half sea creature, her long hair drifting around her like kelp, her lower body transformed into the tail of a whale or a seal. Sedna's hair is said to be so thick that it covers the entire ocean floor and her hut, trapping animals within it. She functioned as a symbol of fertility and as the creator and controller of most sea animals. The Inuit participated in a complex, sympathetic and reverential relationship with her, as they were entirely dependent upon her for the provision of animals for the hunt. All aspects of the Inuits' lives were regulated by the system of rules and regulations designed to appease Sedna. Some legends have her as the daughter of a goddess named Isaratesuk, while most only mention her father, the creator god Anguta. Every telling of her legend agrees on one terrible turning point. Sedna, betrayed, is cast into the sea by her own father. She clings to the edge of his kayak, desperate to survive, but he cuts off her fingers one by one. As they sink into the freezing waters, each finger becomes a living creature. Sedna herself sinks to the ocean floor, where she reigns as the mother of the sea. Inuit hunters must honour her, for she alone decides whether they will return home with food or empty hands. Offerings of broken knives, worn harpoon heads, scraps of bone and meat were once cast into the waves to soothe her wrath and coax the sea animals back to the surface. But the reasons behind her transformation vary from place to place. In some stories, Sedna is punished for being vain, forever combing her long dark hair, scorning the suitors brought to her, and in one instance even marrying a dog. In others, she is a giant, ravenous daughter who turns against her own parents in her hunger for human flesh, gnawing on their limbs as they sleep. Another version recounts her as a mistreated orphan whom the people, when moving to another settlement, attempt to drown by chopping off her fingers. Most often, though, she is remembered as a beautiful maiden who defied expectations and paid the ultimate price. Long ago, in the cold and endless north, there lived a young woman named Sedna. She was striking with her long black hair and sharp cleverness, a huntress as skilled as any man in her village. Suitors came to her father's house, strong hunters with fine gifts, but Sedna sent them all away. She needed no husband to feed or clothe her. Her father grew angry. He wanted her to be like other women, to marry, to settle. At last, in his fury, he sent her to live alone on an abandoned island, hoping the sea winds would soften her heart. There, Sedna waited until one day a handsome stranger came. He promised her everything: warmth, comfort, meat and skins in plenty. Lonely, tired and tempted, Sedna agreed, and she sailed away with him. But the man was not what he seemed. He was no hunter. He was cruel, and he starved her. When news of her suffering reached her father, he and his kin set sail to rescue Sedna. They carried her back into their boat, but her husband followed in his true form, a giant eagle. He beat the air with his wings until storms broke over the sea, waves rearing high, the boat rocking wildly. Sedna clung to the side, screaming for her father to save her. But fearing the eagle's wrath, he raised his ulu knife and, in desperation, cut off her fingers one by one. Sedna sank beneath the waves. From her severed fingers swam the first seals, the first walruses, the first whales, and Sedna herself became something more than human, the mother of the sea. But she was not gentle. She dwelt in a house at the bottom of the ocean, guarded by a great dog, her hair tangled and filthy. With no fingers, she could not comb it, and in her knots, the sea creatures grew trapped, kept from the hunters who depended on them. When famine came, the Inuit would call for the Angakok, the shaman, to journey in trance down into the deep. There he would face Sedna's fury, wrestling her until at last he could take up a comb and gently untangle her hair. As he freed it of filth and neglect, the trapped animals swam free. Bearded seal, walrus, narwhal and reindeer, polar bear and musk ox, harp seal and seabirds. And Sedna would speak, reminding the shaman that people must live with respect and balance, never greedy, never wasteful. Only then would she open her hands and frozen heart and release the sea's bounty once more. In the Inuit tradition, when hunters pray for the creatures of the sea, it is to Sedna they look, the wronged maiden, the betrayed daughter, the goddess who rose from the storm to rule the ocean's depths. The myth of Sedna, goddess of the sea, is not only a tale for people of the Arctic. It is a story of betrayal and violence, but also a mirror, reflecting what happens when humans turn against the forces that sustain them. In Sedna, the ocean is made flesh, wronged, mutilated, and yet still essential to survival. Her story asks what becomes of us when we break our promises to the earth, when we show disrespect, when we mistreat women and nature alike. Her body tells this truth: the missing fingers that became the first sea creatures, the long, tangled hair she cannot comb. These are not only her scars, they are signs of imbalance. In art and literature, wild women are so often shown with unruly hair, a mark of chaos, grief, or inner turmoil. For Sedna, the tangles are the sins of her people, each knot a transgression that keeps the animals trapped. Only when her hair is combed smooth and when balance is restored do the creatures swim free once more. And when her hair is shown in braids, just as Inuit women wear their own during daily life. It is a sign of harmony, of the world briefly set right. Sedna's story has a timelessness that all great myths possess. In her, we see the sea itself, vast, life-giving, yet deeply vulnerable to human harm. Her severed fingers remind us of dwindling fish stocks, of creatures driven to extinction. And her fury, when she withholds the ocean's gifts, is the storm, the flood, the rising tide. Sedna warns us that when we take too much, when we live without respect for the waters that sustain us, the sea remembers. Her myth asks us to live differently, to walk with humility, to give offerings, to care for the balance that keeps the world alive. It is as true today as it was when her story was first told on the ice, under the sweep of northern lights. We hope you have enjoyed our sea timber offerings this year. It has been so much fun diving beneath the depths for marine mythology and discovering new treasures to share with you. Be sure to let us know in the comments or just rate or review if you've enjoyed it too. Until next time, treat the ocean with respect, for she is a fierce goddess who craves balance to sustain her.
Thanks for listening, and fuck yeah, folklore. Fuck yeah, folklore.